Alright, I'm going to continue my videos on modality metaphysics. I did a little video here where I did like a little intro to that kind of metaphysics. Yeah, like I said, a good book to read is Michael Liu, his metaphysics book, Contemporary Issues. He has a good part in there which kind of goes over the metaphysics of many of the top thinkers that have published really good and groundbreaking articles on this. Another book that I think is very good for this is this book, which is a book edited by the same guy, except that book that I have upstairs is written by him. This is edited and it has various articles of modality in it, and I do have another book which has some stuff in it, but I checked this out of the library in order to not have to print stuff off and find stuff elsewhere. So I'm gonna pick through this stuff, and there's a couple articles by Lewis in here. So, but right now I'm actually gonna read from an article by Roderick Chisholm, which is called "Identity Through Possible Worlds." And basically, what I'm intending to do is not to really look at his position, but to introduce the ideas of transworld identity and the issue of essentialism between possible worlds and properties there as well. So he comes to a conclusion which I don't necessarily agree with, but the video following this on this topic of modality metaphysics, which I'm going to do, is called David Lewis's counterpart theory and quantified moral logic, which in Lewis's, I totally agree with Lewis, and he does something really cool there. But here he gives a good example about transworld identity. So basically, he gives Adam and Noah, and he changes their age, and he's gonna ask the question: are they the same? Is the same Adam of W2 World 2, or he gives the W superscript 1, W superscript 2, and the World 1, World 2, and he kind of goes that way. If Adam is as such in World 1, is he is as such in World 2, are they identity? Because then we have this principle, which is necessary to know in metaphysics, which is called the identity of or the the identity of indiscernibles. It's basically like that question that if X and Y are identical, then they will be indiscernible. You will not be able to discern one from the other. That's a basic, very brief way of putting that concept, because it varies. Identity is a big thing in metaphysics, and that's basically a way of putting it. So we start with Adam. We say after his description slightly and allow him to live for 931 years instead of for only 930. And then we accommodate our description of the other entities of the world to possibly fit this possibility. So let's call our present world W1. In the possible world we have just indicated, W2. Is this Adam of our world 1 the same person as the Adam of the possible world 2? In other words, is Adam such that he lives for 930 years in world 1 and for 931 years in world 2? And how are we to decide and figure that out? So compare the question: how can Adam at the age of 930 be the same person as the man who ate forbidden fruit, if the former is old and the latter is young? Here, the proper reply would be: it is not true that the old Adam has properties that that render him discernible from the young Adam. It's not true that the old truth. It is not true that the old Adam has properties that render him discernible from the young Adam. The truth is rather that Adam has the property of being young when he eats the forbidden fruit, and the property of being old in the year 930. And that these properties, though different, are not incompatible. And so too for the different possible worlds. It is not true that the Adam of World 1 has properties that render him discernible from the Adam of World 2. So he's saying it's not true that the Adam of World 1 has properties that render him discernible from the Adam of World 2. The truth is rather that Adam has the property of living for 930 years in World 1 and the property of living for 931 years in World 2. And these properties, though different, are not incompatible. So then we have this issue of resemblance. Can there be trans-world identity? Lewis uses the term trans-world. Chisholm does not. He doesn't use the word trans-world. David Kaplan, in his article Trans-World Airlines, which is... David Kaplan is a philosopher of language, and not somebody that I'm, really good at understanding. I'm not philosophy of language is not something I've been taught in. I've never been taught in that at all. So I'm not even going to make an attempt to go at that. I've been taught in metaphysics, and I've been taught in logic. So, and I've read a lot of these articles in the classes I've taken. Some of them I haven't, but I think it's just really interesting. So in this little string of metaphysics videos, I'm going to try to do. I'm going to go beyond what I've been taught and kind of, not go into the philosophy of language things, but read more articles than I was, than I was able to be assigned. Because in a metaphysics class of a semester, you only have so much time to go over certain things, and I took that class maybe 4 years ago. So I think it's clear that we must deal with the old Adam and the young Adam in the manner indicated. But in this case, one could argue we know independently that the same Adam is involved throughout. So even though in World War I we have the Adam who lived 930 years, and we have in World 2, possible World 2, on Adam that lived 931 years, is the same Adam here. Just because of a little bit of a difference difference of property, a little property difference, is the Adam of World 1 identical to the Adam of World 2? And we're going to figure out what Chisholm has to say. The Adam of this world, we are assuming, is identical with the Adam of that one. In other words, Adam is such that he lives for 930 years in World 1 and 931 in World 2. Let us now suppose further that we have arrived at our conception of World 2 not only by introducing alterations in our description of World 1 Adam, but also by introducing alterations in our description of Noah of World 1. We say, suppose Adam lived for 931 years instead of 930, and suppose Noah had lived for 949 years instead of 950. We then arrived at our description of World 2 by accommodating our descriptions of other entities of World 1 in such a way as the revised Noah and the revised Adam. Both Noah and Adam then may be found in World 2 as well as World 1. Now let us move from World 2 to still another possible world, World 3. Once again, we start by introducing alterations in Adam and Noah, then accommodate the rest of the world to what we have done. In World 3, Adam lives for 932 years, and Noah for 948. Then, so Adam lived really for 930 years, and Noah lived for 950 years. So it's basically, the example that's being given is altering these, particulars, Adam and Noah, in order to see if the same Noah and the same Adam are there. So thus, if we can show that the same Adams and the same Noahs are there between the worlds, between worlds 1, 2, and 3, and even further than that, then can we some sort of way uncover a trans world identity, which in some way conforms to the identity of indiscernibles. I would, personally think that no. Lewis, in his 1969 article, Counterpart Theory and Quantified Modal Logic, says that individuals are world-bound, so, there's not really a identity, but there's counterparts, there's resemblance, there's counterparts. Then he has, articles that's called Counterparts or Double Lives, an article called Possible Worlds, and then he has a book called On the Plurality of Worlds. He was the big talker about this stuff. Then moving from one possible world to another, but keeping our fingers, so to speak, on the same two entities, we arrive at a world which Noah lives for 930 and Adam for 950. Okay. In this world, therefore, Noah has the age of Adam in this one. Adam has the age of Noah has in this one. And the Adam and Noah that we started with might thus be said to have exchanged their ages. Now let us continue to still other possible worlds and allow them to exchange other properties. We still imagine a possible world in which they have exchanged their first letters of their names, then in one in which they have exchanged the second, then that one in which they have exchanged the fourth. With the result that Adam is the new possible world. Adam is in this new possible world to be called Noah, and Noah in this new possible world to be called Adam. Proceeding in this way, we arrive finally at a possible world WN, W superscript N, which would seem to be exactly like our present world, World 1, except for the fact that the Adam of World N may be traced back to the Noah of W1, and the Noah of WN may be traced back to the Adam of W1. Should we say of the Adam of Wn that he is identical to the Noah of W1, and should we say of the Noah of Wn that he is identical to the Adam of W1? In other words, is there on X such that X is the Adam of W1 and X is the Noah of Wn? In other words, I'm going to say it again. Is there on X such that X is Adam in W1 and X is Noah in Wn? So if we can show this, if we can show that X, given a certain X, that X is Adam in a certain world and Noah in a different world, that X is Adam in W1 and X is Noah in Wn. Is there a Y such that Y is Noah in W1 and Y is Adam in Wn? And how are we to decide? Okay, that is a great example. That's why I read this aloud like this. You guys could go read yourself, which I highly recommend. And if you can find this book, I don't own it, but I have access to a library which I use. But let us suppose that somehow we have read at a affirmative answer that there is such a X such that X in W1 is Adam and X in Wn is Noah, and and Y in W1 is Noah and X in Wn is Adam, or the other way around. Basically saying that that the X is the same X, and is that the X is that the X is and X and Wn is Adam, or the other way around. Basically saying that that the X is the same X, and is that the X is that the X is it's kind of hard to think about without using the names, but it's is identity still preserved here between the two? Given all these possible worlds that we're going between, and Adam becomes Noah and Noah becomes Adam, is trans-world identity preserved? We must ask ourselves, how is one to tell the differences between the two worlds, World 1 and World N? Shall we say that though they are diverse and yet indiscernible from each other, or at any rate, the Adam of W1 is indiscernible from the Adam of Wn, who is in fact the null of W1, and that the null of W1 is indiscernible from the null of Wn, who in fact is the atom of W1. There's a certain ambiguity in discernible and in indiscernible. The two atoms could be called discernible in that one has the property of being Noah in the other world, and the other does not. It's similar for the two Noahs. But in the sense of indiscernible, that allows us to say that indiscernibles are identical, tells us more than merely identicals are identical. Are the two atoms, the two Noahs, and the two worlds indiscernible? So he's kind of saying that the term indiscernible hasn't really been defined. It's kind of ambiguous. I guess the way I've seen it is not really that ambiguous. I mean, he's going to say that there is identity preserved. Is there really a good reason for saying this Adam and Noah are identical, respectively with that Noah and Adam? We open the door to the conclusion by assuming that the atom can be found in more than one possible world. So, like, if we have a certain property, a certain particular, can we find that in more than one possible world? And if so, does identity confer, and does indiscernibility of it from other counterparts, if you want to use that word, in other worlds? I wouldn't use the word counterpart because it's imbued with Lewis's terms. Counterparts are not the same as identicals. Counterparts are different. Counterparts is more like resemblance. Therefore, among the possible worlds which would seem indiscernible from this one, there are those in which you play the role that I play in this one, in which I play the role you play in this one. If this is true, there may be good ground for the existentialist angst, since it would seem God could have had no sufficient reason for choosing the world in which you play your present role instead of the one in which you play mine. He makes a good point there. For what we have done to Adam and Noah, we can do to any other pair of entities. So he's kind of, I think the way I understand it is he's kind of taking out the I don't know, it's kind of hard to say, but if I play his role if I play my role in World 1 and Chisholm plays his role in World 1, but then in given World 2 he plays my role and I play his role. How are the two discernible? That's the question, because it's difficult because I don't feel that they are that much. But then he also brings into question the issue of essential properties and essentialism. On essential property, this is a thing in metaphysics which is not boiled down to one concept. I think, any word or any concept, there's no one big definition for it that is, authoritative. There really isn't anything like that. But essentialism in the very bare bones, brief way, is to say that for this remote, there are certain properties it has which are essential to it, which this particular cannot exist without a certain property being attached to it, necessarily speaking. In some circles, the word necessity is attached to essential. So if we have a certain particular, there are certain properties that are essential to it, to where the particular cannot be as it is without And I would say that there are. I mean, I guess the way I view properties, this does kind of boil down to the way you view properties. Because if you view properties in a certain way, that will affect how you view trans world identity. So it's kind of hard. You know, I view properties. I used to if you read David Armstrong's sketch for systematic metaphysics, which I have some videos on. He talks about two different, basically binary opposite views of properties. The attribute form, which is there is the core, and then there's the properties, which are kind of like a pin cushion, where the pins are the properties. And then there's bundle theory, which the properties are that which only which makes up the particular. I used to be a attribute property kind of guy, the pincushion guy. I'm more the bundle guy now, because I believe that what makes up a particular is its properties, and only its properties. So yeah, he's kind of going for that there is a sense of trans world identity, and that's kind of what he's going for here. It is assumed in many writings on modal logic that necessarily for every x is identical with x. It implies for every x, necessarily x is identical with x, and therefore also for every x and y, if x is identical with y, then necessarily x is identical with y. But is the assumption reasonable? It leads us to perplexing conclusions. For example, to the conclusion that every entity exists in every possible world, and therefore presumably that everything is an ens necessarium. Why assume that necessarily the evening star is identical with the evening star? We should remind ourselves that the evening star is identical with the evening star is not a logical truth, for it implies the contingent proposition there is a evening star, and that its negation is not. The evening star is diverse from the evening star. It seems to me that even if Adam does have such essential properties, there's no procedure at all for finding out what they are. That is because if there are essential properties, then there is definitely trans-world identity. Because if there are essential properties that are essential to it, then it would be difficult to kind of make the analogy real, and as best as it is the way he does. So anyway, did I miss anything? And it also seems to me that there is no way of finding out whether he does have any essential properties. Is there really a good reason then for opposing that? The distinction between essential and non-essential properties seems to be involved in one of the traditional ways of dealing with the problem of knowing who. If this way of dealing with the problem was satisfactory, then the doctrine of essential properties might have a kind of independent confirmation, but I'm not sure this is satisfactory. The problem of knowing who may be illustrated. So he kind of goes against the distinction between essential and not essential. So I'm gonna go on here, and I'll probably do a video on Lewis. In a way, I do agree with him, but I feel like I think that there are properties to a thing that are necessary for it, that are essential to it. And if that's the case, then it's difficult to make the case, if you're a essentialist about properties, that it's difficult to say that individuals are not world-bound. And I'll talk more about that in my video on Lewis's quantified modal logic.